outside? Should I run and hide? How do I take my company worldwide? Do you love the law? Did you watch Hee-Haw? What's the weirdest thing that you ever saw? What's it like in court? Favorite sport? Can you help with my book report? Is my hair too long? Am I right or wrong? And do you mind if I sing along to anything? Ask Alan anything in the world.
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Ask Alan, the podcast. I'm Alan Crone, the CEO of the Crone Law Firm, and we've got a very special show today. I'm very excited. Been looking forward to this for quite a while. We have the City of Memphis Fire Chief, Gina Sweat. Gina, welcome to the show.
Great, thanks, Alan. I appreciate you having me on today.
Oh, I appreciate you being on. I was thinking as I was driving to work this morning that you've got the job every kid dreams about having, being the fire chief. And when I was growing up, I wanted to be the fire chief. And what's great about you having that job is now young girls who want to do that, they've got a role model. They've got someone who can show them the way there. How important has that been for you over the last few years in fulfilling that role?
You know, Alan, it's interesting that you say that, because when I was a young kid growing up, I didn't dream of being a firefighter or the fire chief, because it wasn't something that little girls that even thought they had the opportunity to do. It wasn't something they were really encouraged to do. So I didn't grow up thinking I wanted to be a firefighter. But actually, I went to college and got a business degree, and really it was after I got out of college that the career opportunity even came to me. So, I think it's very important now that me as a woman and leading the department, try to lead by example and get that message out to other young women and young girls that, anything you want to be in life, you can be. It's just, just got to do a lot of hard work, a lot of, commitment, and, sometimes some good luck actually too helps you along the way. But I do think it's very important. I didn't always embrace it. I just wanted to be a firefighter and do my job and be that person. But I do also realize that it is important, especially being the first female chief of the department. I won't be the last. So I'm going to pave the way so that other women have that opportunity as well.
So you mentioned you got a business degree. Where did you get your business degree?
I went to Freed-Hardeman University in Henderson, Tennessee, and went there on it was kind of a dual, some academic scholarship and basketball. I played basketball there for 4 years at the Freed-Hardeman University, and then actually went back to school after I joined the fire department and got another degree in fire administration, and then a master's degree from the University of Memphis. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. Very good. All right. So this is important information. College basketball player. What position did you play?
I spent a lot of time on the bench, but no. So mostly I played small, two guard, small forward most of the time. When I was there, I started right as they brought the 3-point shot into women's basketball, and the smaller size basketball. So that was like great news for me, because I was an outside shooter. So that helped me out a lot to get that playing time.
Well, my son James is a 3-point specialist, and so he would be simpatico with you on that. So how do you go from basketball playing business major to firefighter?
Well, I say the fire department kind of found me. I was working in Memphis in a property management group, and it just wasn't really, I didn't have a real passion for it. I was doing the job fresh out of college, how that goes. Mm-hmm. And a family friend actually had talked to my dad and said that the fire department was actually trying to recruit females. And they knew that I had an athletic background, kind of knew my personality, and thought that it might be a good fit for me. So I went through the process of applying for the department and ended up getting hired. It's probably almost 2 years after that first discussion because they had a 2-year list and waiting period at that time. So I got hired before the list expired, and that was in 1992. And, also say, one of the things I always say is being a firefighter is not a job, it's something you become. So it's almost more of a lifestyle, because firefighters spend about a third of their life actually living in the fire station with our coworkers. And so it's almost more of a lifestyle than it is a career choice, even though we do get paid.
That's right. That's right. But 1992, how many women were in the department at that point?
So at that time, there were 3 women, 3 female firefighters. At that time, the firefighters and the paramedics were separate divisions. So they didn't do dual roles like we do now. So there were 3 female firefighters, and there was myself and another female were hired in my class. So we made 5 when we got out of school. And so I don't know how many female paramedics there were. There weren't a whole lot, but there were a few paramedics that were already on the job as well.
How were you received as a firefighter who happened to be female?
At first it was kind of touch and go. The story that my first lieutenant told me is that, firefighters are notorious for kind of being, playful and pranksters in the fire station. So I think they were teasing him that he was going to get one of the girls out of the class. And he was like, there's no way that's ever going to happen, because he was downtown. They said we were too busy down here. They wouldn't put a woman down here. But they actually did. And it ended up being one of the best things in the world for me, because I was busy. I had a really good lieutenant that got me off to a good start. And, I had to prove myself a lot. A lot of eyes were on me everywhere I went. And I just tried to see, fit in where I could, and find out what I did, what talents I had, what skills I had that kind of contributed to the team, where I could kind of add, my, whatever I was good at. And I think people saw me really working hard, and there was no quit in me. And I think they appreciate that.
What part about being a firefighter do you enjoy the most?
So, it's something very rewarding to actually come back from a call, and while you're on a call, sometimes you get caught up in the moment and you actually really don't even realize what you're doing, because it's just, our training and through repetition, everything we do. I mean, we're just trained to just take action when we get on the scene. But sometimes when you get back to the fire station, you really start thinking about what you just did, and how that changed somebody's life, and probably, and even saved lives. There's no better feeling in the world than knowing that, even though you may never see this person again. So that's one thing, but probably the thing I really enjoy most about being a firefighter is the camaraderie that we shared in the fire stations. It's our home away from home. And there's been so many tremendous relationships I've built over the last 29 years on the fire department, and I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world.
You mentioned your first lieutenant out of the academy. Was he one of your mentors in the department?
He was. I like to, I've had a lot of mentors along the way. I've had some good officers or good chiefs, and I've had some bad chiefs, So, and I think the beauty of it is I've learned from both, so I think, everyone has something to teach you. So I actually listened to a lot of people along the way. I've watched a lot of people, and tried to, take that and learn, both good and bad things, what to do and what not to do. And then now I try to, walk that same walk myself. I try to be a good example for people to follow. And, I realize now that a lot of people look to me and for, how they should behave as a firefighter, things they should do, how you can progress in the department. So I take all that very serious.
Who were some of the people that, looking back, you think, and that person really made a big difference in my development, my career, either personally or professionally?
Obviously, my first lieutenant, George Reed, he was a strong influence, just because he got me off to the right start. I thought everybody else was training like we were training. Then when I would talk to people in my class, I found out that we were really, really training a lot more than a lot of other people did. But I appreciate that. So I think he was definitely there. There's been, I've worked on a lot of special projects since I've been on the job from a very early age. So all of the directors, I've probably worked on a special project with every director that we had in my career. So I've learned a lot from them. And probably the most influential on the job is probably one of my deputy directors, Hope Lloyd. She had started with the fire department a couple of years prior to me, but we were friends before I got on the job. And we've kind of taken this journey together all the way to, to leadership roles in the department. We studied together, we trained together, we've cried together, talked about, situations we were having in the fire station. So probably she's the one person on the department. I think we've been on this journey together. Sometimes I get a lot of attention because I'm the director, but I couldn't have done anything without her and some of the other women that we've had on the job that we, have collaborated together. And probably as far as a person not on the fire department, I was always, Pat Summit was always one of my childhood heroes. There's so many leadership lessons, you could take for hours about all the leadership lessons from Pat Summit. As a matter of fact, one of my graduation speeches is on her, definitely 12 rules of leadership or something, I believe. So it's I learned a lot from her, and it's just really about holding people accountable, and I think that's a big key to what we do.
Well, you don't get to be fire department director by going from the firehouse right to the director's office. Tell me a little bit about that administrative climb, some of the highlights, projects that you had that helped prepare you to lead the department.
Yeah, so going through the ranks of the fire department is so there's processes, and it's basically testing against your peers for the promotions. So I say my first lieutenant he gave me a book and said, I signed you up for the driver's test, get over here and study this book. And I didn't realize it was a choice because, but that turned out to be fortunate for me because I did exactly what I was told, and I ended up getting promoted to driver fairly early in my career. And, went through the ranks, being a lieutenant over an engine company, battalion chief in the field. And all along, I worked on a lot of different projects, worked with one of the earlier raising money for the fire museum when it got opened up. That was probably one of my first projects. I ended up working on most of the promotional processes. Since the first time I got promoted, I was always working on the ranks below me as being a subject matter expert for the promotional processes, developing an automated SOP system, just anything that was going on. I was always heavily involved in the uniform committee, so I take a lot of pride in the way we look today because there's some changes that I implemented when I was a division chief. So just a lot of things like that. And now, from a strategic level, we're bringing some innovative EMS initiatives out there. We've changed we've changed the specs on our apparatus, and so we're going to have a newly designed fire engine and fire truck coming out this year. We were the first fire department in the country that actually had thermal imaging cameras integrated into our air packs. First metro-sized department that did that a few years ago. So there's just, there's just a lot of things that I'm really proud of that I've got to work with the team and accomplish, throughout my career.
If you would talk a little bit about the initiative to kind of reform the way the department responds to like emergency calls for emergency room visits and that sort of thing, and how that's helped to increase the bandwidth of your emergency response for medical emergencies.
Right. So first of all, I wanted to just let you know, as a director, a lot of times I don't come up with these ideas. So I think that one of my perspectives is it's some of the easiest thing in the world is to say no. The hardest thing is saying yes. Because if you say no, there's no changes and you know, things just kind of go on. But saying yes and actually implementing change is really scary and really hard sometimes. So the team we were having probably about 21% of our EMS calls are actually non-emergent, which means that they're non-life threatening, that we don't run lights and sirens, but we do still have to respond. And when we take those people to the hospital, it ties up, not only does it tie up our ambulances, it also ties up the whole system in the emergency rooms. So we implemented the Healthcare Navigator program, and they work on different ways. The first real project they started was people who overuse 911, who call multiple times per day for non-emergency use. So that was, you know, they first started working with them. Then we also have part of that unit that works with the people who suffer from mental illness, responding to calls with a social worker and MPD to try to mitigate, because worst thing can happen for those people is to either go to an emergency room that they don't need or sometimes end up in jail. So that program's been very successful at keeping people out of both of those places. And then probably the one that's received the most publicity is the radar program. And that's a partnership with doctors who actually were able to actually respond instead of sending an ambulance or a fire truck. They can actually respond on these calls that are non-emergent, and they can do an evaluation and either set up that person with a primary care physician appointment or another resource that they need instead of taking them to the emergency room, which is a very expensive alternative for both them and for the system. And so we're actually expanding that program now where they actually can use telemedicine to do the declinations on the scene. So we're looking forward to rolling that out even bigger here in the future. So I think that's going to help us make sure we have ambulances available. And it also helps the citizens not get, you know, a big ambulance bill that was unnecessary.
And yeah, one way to attack that problem is to say, well, you know, we just need more ambulances. We need more EMTs, but your department, and I appreciate when you say, you know, there was a team effort, you know, you didn't chart this out all by yourself, but, you know, to have the patience and the discipline to really figure out where those touch points are, just to make the whole system more efficient, has been a great benefit, as you say, not just to the fire department, but to the hospitals and some of these other partners as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The system it's built. It's, you know, there's some system issues. We only get reimbursed or paid when we actually transport to the hospital. So we're working to try to fix that problem. We're working with the insurers and some other stakeholders to try to change that system, because it actually, like I said, it helps everybody and saves everybody money to actually get them to the right resource that they need instead of an emergency room.
Well, how has the pandemic and the lockdown and has that increased the demand for medical services, or has it actually decreased because of the lockdown?
Interestingly enough, our run volume actually was decreased because because of the lockdown, people not going to the emergency rooms. I think people that would normally maybe overuse the emergency, even they didn't want to go to the emergency rooms because of the pandemic. So it has decreased our run volume somewhat, but we have early on, we experienced a lot of members of our department contracting COVID. And people, they live in a fire station. So if one person in the fire station tested positive, then the entire station, that entire shift would have to be quarantined for 10 to 14 days, depending on where we were with the CDC guidelines. So we had a lot of staffing, had to get really creative with staffing, stretched our staff really thin there for a while. But we found a way, and that's what, I'm very proud of the Memphis Fire Department. We always find a way to get it done. So, we've made it through that now. our positive cases are very low now within the department. We've got a good number of our first responders vaccinated, which is very important for our entire community to make sure that we reach that herd immunity and we can move on past this pandemic.
Well, you mentioned vaccinations, and of course, you are kind of at the front lines of vaccinations here in Memphis. When the city took over, you're one of the point people. In fact, that's where you are right now, is at the OEM for dealing with that. Tell me a little bit about how you guys mobilized in a short period of time to take that over once the state asked you to do that.
You know, I always say it's kind of amazing what you can do when you feel like you don't have a choice. So, you know, and this is, we looked, you know, we were given the mission we were given at like 10 o'clock in the morning. We were told that we were going to be, you know, taking over the vaccine process. A heavy lift that day. We went through transferring the chain of custody of over 50,000 doses of vaccine, putting a team in place, and by 8 o'clock the next morning, members of the Memphis Fire Department were out delivering vaccine to the fixed vaccination sites, as well as the 2 or 3 pods that they had scheduled that day. So it was pretty amazing to watch the team leap into action. But you know, that's kind of what the fire department, you know, we're trained we have an incident management system that we use on fire scenes and to mitigate emergencies, and it can be expanded to longstanding events as well. So we basically just kind of put that in play, put people in positions. I'm not gonna lie, I picked key people on the department who I knew had the skill set to get this done. And we formed a team here at OEM and, you know, handed out responsibilities, gave them, you know, the authority to get things done. And that's how we push through this. The team has grown a little bit since then. But to do that, I took some key people, you know, off their regular duties, including myself, which I'm very fortunate. I have 2 really good deputy directors that they're leading more of the other fire department stuff that I'm not able to do day to day right now. And we're getting it done. But everybody, the entire department is really having to flex and do a little bit more. We've got people, like I said, it's Memphis firefighters that are in charge of the vaccine, the receiving, the inventory, the distribution to the sites, and maintaining that chain of custody every day. And it's a very, it's not as easy as people may think. It's the cold chain custody is pretty complicated. And so it's pretty intense for them to manage that all day long. But I'm really proud of the team. Not a single person asked why or said this wasn't my job. They just knew that this is what we have to do to protect our community and to get our community back to normal. And we're gonna stick with it until we get it done.
Well, I can tell you, I'm a fully vaccinated human sitting here right now. Got both shots within the requisite amount of time. I told the mayor I was never more glad to be obese in my life than when it qualified me to get the shot. And so I went to the Pipkin building, in and out of there. I think the entire experience, I rolled up at 1:52, and I rolled out of the parking lot after my 15-minute wait at 2:34. And I had a similar experience at the Appling Road. And I will tell our viewers, and what you said is true. It's very, very hard to make it look that easy. And I appreciate all the work that y'all have done, and the folks that are there. The folks from UTHCS and or SC and are just great, and y'all really to be commended. Now, all right, the George Jetson part of this that I think is so cool is the real-time monitoring you guys are able to do there at OEM. Tell us about that and how that has made a difference in keeping things rolling.
So OEM, it's been another one of my another proud accomplishment of the last 5 years. It's been in development. It wasn't always as tech savvy as it is right now. So at the beginning of COVID, you know, the city and the county, Shelby County, they stood up the joint task force to help mitigate the pandemic. So that's initially we started meeting. You know, we meet down here at OEM, and we had to make some upgrades. So we have a wall now where we have cameras. We monitor all the fixed vaccine sites here from OEM. So we can watch, we can tell when traffic is starting to back up. We can tell when traffic is slow. A lot of times before the people, the managers on the ground can even tell us. It just helps to keep that situational awareness. So I also have, we have members, a data team. The department has a data team. We have some of those that are down here working to pull the data together because, as you know, the cities really is driven by data to make decisions instead of just using, you know, gut instincts or something like that, even though those do come into play sometimes. So we display all the data here. We have the inventory management of the vaccine. We always have, everybody in the room has a situational awareness of everything that's going on. We know how many appointments we have this week per place. We know where all the community pop-up pods are. And everybody on the team, we're all playing off the same playbook. And that's really important in any, if you're trying to get anything done in this world. And we're here together so we can communicate. And I know one of the things with the pandemic, not being able to communicate face to face has really, it's been problematic for a lot of people because there's, even though we're sitting here talking on the computer right now, just being in person, it's just a little bit better. So we're down here, we make sure that we're all on the same page. We communicate regular and just head off any misunderstandings before they get too far down the road. But that's really the key. It's pretty nice, state of the art now down here at OEM. We can mitigate. I'm confident there's not any emergency in the city that we couldn't manage from right here and help the boots on the ground that are actually getting the work done.
Well, one thing you mentioned is the outreach effort, the pods, the pop-up pods, and the homebound effort. And I have friends in other places, and I don't know that there's a whole lot of people doing as much outreach as y'all are doing. Talk a little bit about those efforts and how people can avail themselves of, particularly of the homebound effort.
Yeah, thanks for asking that. So I failed to mention that earlier. And in addition to all the other great work that healthcare navigators are doing, Kevin Spratlin, the manager of that team, came to me early before we even received the vaccine mission and said that this was the homebound population was a very important population, and he felt that his team could do some good work there. So I said, okay, I gave him permission. Once again, I said yes, which is always scary. I said, yes, Kevin. I said, give me a plan for us to do it. So he began to formulate some partnerships there to perform outreach out into that community. So they've been able to do that with the homebound, also with people experiencing homeless. They've had several events with them. We actually been able to obtain a community vaccination unit. It's a truck that we use to actually do these events and take it out into the community. So they're out there reaching these hard to reach, these vulnerable populations. They may not have transportation or may not be able to make it for whatever their reason to one of the vaccine sites. It's incredible work. It's not, you don't get the huge numbers like you get at one of the mass sites. You're not going to get 2,000 people a day, but it's a very targeted approach, and it's really taking the vaccine to people who might not have another alternative. So like I said, I don't know of a lot of other people who have done as much, other cities have done as much outreach as we've done with this, but I'm really, really proud of that team.
Well, and particularly in a city like Memphis, where mobility is such a challenge for so many people, getting to a vaccination site can be impossible for some folks. And I was just really glad to hear that not only were you doing the homebound and the homeless, but also taking talk about a little bit about this pod effort to go into different neighborhoods. I know that you've gone to some Hispanic areas and some of the inner city locations, again, trying to go where the people are who may not be able to travel to one of the central sites.
So we kind of look at it as originally the mass vaccine sites like the Pipkin site. That's kind of the shotgun approach. You get the most people, with a blast, but the community pods are more a targeted approach. And what we did, we analyzed the data once again and targeted zip codes that had the lowest uptake of vaccine. And so we actually started working mostly with the faith-based community in those zip codes to do community pods in those zip codes to try to encourage people. Hopefully, the ministers and pastors could encourage more people in the community to come out. And if they didn't have to travel as far to a site, also, all of those things, we wanted to bring the vaccine to the people. So it's been pretty successful. Like I said, we're also reaching out to the Hispanic population, taking the vaccine to where they feel comfortable getting a vaccine. And then, so now we've also, you mentioned people that don't have transportation. So we partnered with MATA. So you can, anybody that doesn't have a ride can take MATA to the Pipkin site, and they will drop you off there, and they will give you a voucher for your fare, and then also give you a voucher to come back for your second shot when that's available. And if you're a MATA Plus user, they will take you. You can just call and make an appointment, just like you do for any other MATA Plus ride, and they'll bring you to the Pipkin site, and you can get your vaccine that way. So a lot of outreach has gone. I see it as our job is to remove every barrier, every obstacle we can to make it as easy as possible for the people in our community, the people in our county, city, to come out and get vaccinated if they want to. So there's no excuse. If you want a shot, you can get a shot. And I'm pretty proud of all the work we've done to remove all barriers and obstacles. So if there's more obstacles out there, just let us know. We'll figure out a way. If you want a vaccine, we'll figure out a way to get it to you.
All right. Well, let me switch gears a little bit. And in the time we have left, I want to talk about kind of the infrastructure improvements that the department is making. I know that there have been some strategic construction of new firehouses, and then of course you're reluctantly relocating the fire headquarters from right near my office here on Union over to the fire campus, if you will, where OEM is and other things. How is that whole process going?
So you're absolutely right. Moving my headquarters was not originally my idea, but not being selfish. To be honest with you, where my office is right now is one of the best views of the river and the bridge, and I should share that with the community. I think having a museum there and having that opportunity down on the riverfront, I think that's a great opportunity for our city to grow our downtown, to grow our tourism. And I see that big picture, the big picture there. So we just finished construction on Fire Station 43 in Whitehaven. We had the grand opening last week. And I'm really, I think the design turned out fantastic. So anybody gets a chance to ride down off of Holmes Road and take a look at it. It's part of a concept that we decided that we wanted our fire stations, when we did build a fire station, we wanted it to add to the community, wanted to blend into the community and not just stand out like an albatross. So that station was very purposely designed to add to that community. It also has a training room that can also be a community room for community groups can come in and use that space to have community meetings and stuff if they want to actually, to bring the community to the fire station. So that project is just finished. And so the current headquarters has a fire station that operates, it's a regular fire station 5, and the fire administration was upstairs. So the fire station is being relocated to Adams near Thomas. And the construction is going very well there. They should probably be in there before this time, probably by the end of the year, before this time next year. And then we had to rethink, what does fire administration, what does that look like? And it's interesting you use the term campus, because that's exactly the concept we kind of came up with. OEM was in a building here at Avery in the basement, and we had done a lot of work here, but the upstairs was pretty much had been neglected for years. So we were able to do some renovations up there. We're the phase one renovation, if you will. We've got 2 or 3 more phases we want to finish out, completely renovating that building. We call it the Avery building, where OEM and fire prevention is. And now EMS actually operates out of this building as well. And then we were fortunate that with the partnership with Shelby County 911, Fire and Police Communications, which is the other anchor here at Avery at Flicker, we were able to renovate. They helped us renovate the upstairs there. And now we've done some work downstairs, and that's where our healthcare navigator program is riding out of there. So we built that space downstairs with the capacity to actually grow that program now. And a lot of partnerships are helping us with that. And then right in the dead center of that is going to be the new fire administration building. That construction, it's a beautiful building. It's designed with the historic appreciation for what fire stations have always looked like, along with being, a modern touch as well. And just tying this whole campus together, I feel like it'll make us more efficient. It's going to keep those communications. We'll be able to communicate better and just be more efficient all the way around.
Well, for those folks that frequent the Union extended overpass, you can see the construction from there. If you're a passenger in a car, take a look. If you're driving, don't look away from the road, obviously, but you can see it, and it's going to be a handsome building and hopefully be great for years and years to come. And where it may not have the same views, it certainly is more strategically located, being in the middle of town. That's probably going to be very helpful for the department. And then also, I don't want to geek out here, but the strategic placement of the Adams and Thomas station is kind of a rethinking of how you deploy fire protection in downtown. Can you talk about that just a little bit? Because I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, so there's we follow NFPA guidelines, and their guidelines we're not held in, but it's for response. And in general, fire stations should be have about a 3 mile radius between stations. And strategically, our forefathers here in Memphis did a pretty good job planning out fire stations where they are for fire protection in the city. So I'm very thankful and appreciative of that, because all metro cities didn't have that forethought, throughout the history. But the fire station 5 was backed up to the river, so it really didn't get a good 360-degree response territory. It was pretty much a 180, right? So that went into the thinking of it. We also, I said 3 stations, so we're also rebuilding the fire station that is on Jackson Avenue and moving it just slightly north. And so those 2 moves together are actually going to give us a better response into the downtown area, and also the medical district in that area that's really growing. The population is really growing in that part of town right now. So strategically overall, I think that's going to actually improve our response into the downtown area. And so we won't be, a lot of times, I worked as a lieutenant at Fire Station 5 headquarters during Memphis in May, and during large events down there, our actually response is extremely hampered because of traffic and everything. So that, I think this move also give us, during those busy times downtown with big events and stuff, will give us a better shot to get into some of those facilities we need to.
Well, Director, thank you so much for your time today. It's just fascinating, and I want to thank you and all the members of the Memphis Fire Department. You know, you don't always think of the fire department, and that's good because that means you're doing your job. And so it's good to have a little bit of a discussion, because I don't think many Memphians really realize how cutting edge our department is, how well trained it is, and if you don't mind me saying so, how well led it is. And I really appreciate your service to our city.
All right, thanks. So thank you so much, Alan. Like I said, I think we have the best fire department in the country. You know, I think we're an ISO 1 department, which means that we've met the criteria to be one of the top fire departments in the country. And every day, I'm just amazed at the work that the men and women do here, and how they do it with the professionalism that they do. And there's no back down. And I think the community should sleep well knowing that they got a really fantastic fire department.
All right, I'm going to give you the last word. Whether they're little boys or little girls, if someone is thinking about a career in fire protection, what would you say to them? What's the advice that they should be thinking about as they consider that career choice?
So obviously it's a physically demanding job. So, you know, stay healthy, you know, stay fit, you know, find ways to be strong and all of that. Pay attention in school. It's not a easy job. There's a lot of math. There's a lot of reading comprehension, and probably first, you know, foremost is like what we're doing right now. You have to know how to talk to people. So all of those things are very important to develop those skills as you're growing up. And then if you're really interested, you know, find your mentor, go by a fire station and visit. They always welcome kids to come by and show you the fire trucks and talk to you about, you know, what the job entails. And if you're really thinking about it, I can't think of a rewarding thing to do in your life. It's really blessed me, and I've been able to do a lot of fantastic things that I might not have ever been able to do before.
All right, well, we'll let that be the last word. Again, Gina Sweat, the fire chief of the city of Memphis, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your service. And then thank you for watching this podcast or listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed it, and who we kidding? It was a great show. Please share this with as many people as you can. Like us on social media, all that good stuff. We appreciate it. Gina's going to go back to fighting fires and protecting the community, and I'm going to go back and hopefully get a little justice today. So again, thank you all very, very much.